Hey, this is Super Game Ghost. You're watching the 10 worst rated PSP games. Let's start. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is an action-adventure game released in 2007. Ah yeah, Harry Potter. This game is probably going to be really fun to play, with all the cool magic spells you can cast on all the other wizards and mythical creatures, right? Well, no, but you are moving furniture and other household items around. And that's just about as magical and whimsical as it gets. It becomes very clear why this game sucks very quickly. Firstly, the tutorial does a piss poor job of showing you how to perform spells. This is something you need to figure out on your own, and it doesn't really help that the controls can be completely unresponsive. If it takes an hour or so to complete a simple tutorial, then it really does not bode well for the rest of the game. According to Moby Games, Harry Potter has an average score of 5.8 out of 10.
At least I don't cry in my sleep. Don't kill Cedric! Boo-hoo! What are you talking about?
Ghost Rider is a hack and slash game released in 2007. Ghost Rider plays much like God of War or Devil May Cry. The only big difference is that Ghost Rider doesn't have any immersive storyline, gratifying gameplay, or combat. What it does have is a series of incohesive stages, where you fight a few packs of monsters, defeat them, and then progress to the next stage. It's not all bad though. Ghost Rider has some stages where you get to ride your motorcycle around as you blow enemies up and do Evel Knievel-like stunts. This part of the game is actually somewhat enjoyable, and it should have been the primary focus for this game had the developers known what they were actually doing. Ghost Rider has an average score of 5.7 out of 10.
So now Johnny is in hell.
Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest is an action-adventure game released in 2006. Before Johnny Depp became the most popular React content for Twitch streamers and YouTubers, he was actually also a huge movie star, who made some pretty entertaining films, such as Pirates of the Caribbean. Too bad that the only entertaining thing about Dead Man's Chest's PSP adaptation is how you'll almost certainly get stuck in lava if you ever accidentally fall into it. Also, there's an infinite number of enemies in any given section of every single stage, and it takes about 5 to 10 seconds of button mashing to defeat just one enemy. Very thoughtful game design here. Dead Man's Chest has an average score of 5.6 out of 10.
Ah, a pirate and a barrister. Seems like a duplication of efforts, but a deal.
Iron Man is an action-adventure game released in 2008. If you get a kick out of torturing yourself, well then this is the game for you. Why? Well, it's all thanks to one thing: the horrible control scheme. The camera controls are permanently bound to the action buttons instead of the PSP's joystick. This makes movement and targeting in this game terrible, which is a shame because this is the main thing that detracts from the game and makes it nearly impossible to play. Otherwise, this game might have been halfway decent. Then again, you do have this section which is reminiscent of the worst game ever made, so maybe not. Iron Man has an average score of 5.6 out of 10.
You want to ruin the company? Is that a rhetorical question?
Hellboy: The Science of Evil is an action-adventure game released in 2008. This game is whatever, not too bad and not really good. The worst thing about this game are the uninspired enemy designs and the lack of variety with the enemies you encounter. Also, the game's plot is kind of confusing. The first chapter revolves around hunting down a witch in a cemetery. Then this goes kind of unresolved, and then you somehow all of a sudden end up in Japan for the second portion of the game for whatever reason. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Anyway, Hellboy has an average score of 5.5 out of 10. Golden Compass is an action-adventure game released in 2007. At this point, this list should just be called the worst video game adaptations of movies on the PSP. In Golden Compass, you play as a bear who's the main protagonist, rampaging through the icy wastelands of fictional Norway. He stalks his helpless prey and mauls them to death. The bear even ravages an entire village of Eskimos. His bloodthirst is insatiable and nothing can stop him. I actually don't know if that's what the game is really about, but it sure feels like it. The rest of the game where you don't get to control the bear is just complete garbage. Golden Compass has an average score of 5.4 out of 10.
My
My hunters dead. My camp destroyed. Why do you attack us, Panzerbjorn? For gold.
Dave Mirra's BMX Challenge is an extreme sports game released in 2006. What can possibly be bad about this game? I mean, you got every element that makes up a good extreme sports game here. You got the fast-paced gameplay, the tricks, the gravity-defying jumps, and the obligatory punk music. I can't see why this might be considered a bad game. Oh, okay, now I see. Much like the Tony Hawk games, you are able to create a custom character. However, this feature has little to do with actually customizing a character to your personal preferences, and has more to do with just picking from an entire roster of stereotypical subculture archetypes from high school. Also, the controls for this game are shoddy as hell, and the physics are just laughably bad. Dave Mirra has an average score of 5 out of 10. Aliens vs Predator Requiem is an action-adventure game released in 2007. The great thing about this game is that the Predator has access to all the badass gadgets and weapons that have been popularized in the Predator films. He's got the invisibility, he's got the shoulder cannon, and he's even got the different sight options. The bad thing about this game is that every single one of these things have been, in one way or the other, executed extremely poorly. And unlike the Predators seen in the films who are agile and crafty, the Predator's movement in this game is slow and clumsy. And the horrible camera controls just makes it way worse. AVP has an average score of 4.7 out of 10. Street Supremacy is a racing sim released in 2005. I don't really know anything about these Gran Turismo-like racing simulation games, but the game does actually look decent for a PSP title, and it features some cool cars. The main point of the game is to climb up the ranks of your racing club and defeat other clubs in racing challenges to ultimately take control of all of Tokyo's underground racing scene. I think the main problem with this game is that it just isn't as deep as the Gran Turismo games in terms of car customization, and the races are all one-on-one matches. So I can see how this could quickly become repetitive, but I don't know, I'm not a huge racing sim aficionado. Maybe this game is actually complete crap. Street Supremacy has an average score of 4.6 out of 10. Pocket Racers is a racing game released in 2006. It's actually pretty rare that I witness a game at the top of these lists, which is as bad as the reviews make it out to be. This is one of those games that really deserves the top spot as the worst game. Like, what the hell am I looking at here? I thought this was a racing game, not a horror game. So my understanding of this intro cutscene is that some demonic being randomly barges into a house party and decides to shrink all of the party's attendees and turn them into miniature race cars, all the while towing the guests' real-life cars with some magical tow hook. No wonder Konami stopped making video games. Not only is the premise of this game ridiculously bad, but the game itself just looks like a big stinky turd. According to Moby Games, Pocket Racers has an average score of 4.4 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos.